We are live, brother.
Folks, what is up? Welcome back to the Vol Talk podcast. Welcome to yet another late version edition of the Vol Talk podcast. In fact, we got to double check and make sure that we are live, Austin, because
We're
are we
live,
officially
brother.
live? Is it
We are
okay?
live,
Perfect,
brother.
perfect. Folks, we had a great deal of technical difficulties today. Um, it is
Oh,
quite the rodeo. I'm trying to figure out my connection being halfway across the world. Austin's stuff got all messed up. But hey, folks, better late than never, as Mama always said. Ain't that right, Austin? So
yeah.
uh welcome to the Vol Talk podcast. You were here with Blake, you were here with Austin, and we're here to talk all things volunteer sports. Austin, we have got a jam-packed show today, dude. I'm talking about all kinds of stuff all over the board. We're talking about Jim Knowles getting hired as the defensive coordinator. We were talking about Legend Bay and the fiasco that has been his signing with Tennessee. We were talking about the Michigan situation and how that might open up the door, as unfortunate as it is, for Savion Hyder.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to be talking about something I'm looking forward to, Austin, which is revisiting the trade between Joey Aguilar and Nico. And then we're going to talk about the craziness that was Alabama and their college football playoff ranking not moving at all after getting blasted by Georgia. And then, Austin, we're going to talk about basketball, a little bit of basketball teaser at the end.
We
Jam
picked
packed.
we picked an interesting day to put a lot on the docket, Blake. Not great
Yeah.
timing, but hey, we're gonna power through it and talk about all this stuff because a lot has been happening, dude. And we got to catch up. We haven't been live in 2 weeks, so excited to get into it. Excited to get into the DC hire and all that, and then the Michigan craziness, how that could potentially help us. So it should be a fun show.
It's going to be a fun show for sure. But speaking of the connection issues, folks, look, I am just going to be honest with you guys. I might be freezing a little bit. I am probably freezing quite a lot of bit. And so, Austin, brother, you're probably going to be carrying the show. I'm going to try not to talk too much because I don't want to annoy people with all the freezing. But like Austin said, we're going to power through it. We already got folks jumping into the chat here, Austin. We got good old Rocky Top. What's up, buddy? We got my wife, Rachel. Welcome, Rachel. And we got Ryan in the chat already. So welcome, everyone, to this episode. And please, as always, go ahead and give us a like on the video, share it with your friends, and then, of course, subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us out. And most importantly, Austin, jump in the chat. Jump in the chat and let us know what your thoughts are on all of this, because again, folks, we have a lot to cover today. And speaking of a lot to cover, Austin, before we jump into it, I want to quickly plug we have got our massive season review coming up. Austin, are we set for next Sunday,
We
the
are.
21st?
We are. We are set.
So
Locked
next
in.
Sunday, locked in next Sunday, uh, December 21st, we are going to be doing our 2025 Vols football season review. We'll have special guest Dakota on. It's always great to have him on, have that third person. And so we'll have kind of that panel discussion on all kinds of stuff from the 2025 season, Austin. So it's going to be a huge show. So again, folks, mark that on your calendars and turn on the notification bells so you can know when we go live. We're going to aim for 11:30 a.m. Eastern next week. But again, if we have technical difficulties, might be a little late. Y'all know us. Look, one day we're going to fire our production team, but today's
Yeah.
not that day.
Yeah. I mean, hope.
Uh,
Let's hope everything's a little bit more smooth next Sunday for the big show, but we'll see.
yeah. Yes, we will see. Welcome, Blake G. Fellers in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Off to the races here in the chat. But Austin, let's hop right into it, brother.
Let's get
Let's
into it, man.
get into the nitty gritty. We are going to talk about Jim Knowles first. So
Let's
we
do it.
did a video on the defensive coordinator. We fired Tim Banks. It finally happened. He, funny enough, Austin has been hired by Golish to join as the co-defensive coordinator at Auburn and the safeties coach. Good luck with your
Mm.
safeties, Auburn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It might be barbecue
so
chicken next year against Auburn, Blake, and those safeties.
exactly. But we have hired Jim Knowles, Austin, former Penn State defensive coordinator, former Ohio State defensive coordinator. And we were thinking it might be Ryan Walters. That kind of looked like, the number one candidate. And then boom, here comes Jim Knowles. Austin, talk us through this Jim Knowles hire.
Yeah, I mean, good old Rocky Top's already mentioned in the chat. Um, Listen, Jim Knowles is a guy who's proven, but his system does take some time to implement. From the sounds of it, it takes some time to get everyone on board with the system, or up to speed, I guess, with the system. He actually has a quote about that, and I'll share that in a minute. But yeah, Jim Knowles, his resume speaks for itself. National champion in 2024 with that Ohio State defense. PFF College posted that his defenses have posted a 90 plus PFF grade for the season every year since 2021. So that's extremely impressive. I think it was a really good hire, dude. Our main concern with him, we posted a video about Tim Banks getting fired and stuff, was our only and really main concern was, well, he's the guy who gave Nico his career day this past season in Penn State, which again, that is concerning. However, just to add context to that, because I know there are some Vols fans who are bringing that up, some astute people that actually have followed all of college football bringing that up. The only thing I will say to that, to, I guess, cope a little bit, is one, remember, that was the first game of UCLA's new offensive coordinator. And Blake, I got to give you credit for this. You really hit the nail on the head with this, with the UCLA stuff, because the first couple of games with that new coordinator, all of a sudden UCLA's offense looks completely different. It looks completely revamped.
Right.
Nico's playing better. And then once people saw the tape and actually were able to, see what their game plan is, it quickly became back to the old Nico and old UCLA, which was being complete and utter crap. So yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing, it maybe caught him off guard a little bit. I think you have to also bring up the fact that they just lost a tough overtime game to Oregon, and clearly Penn State didn't live up to their talent this year, Blake. I mean, that's very obvious. So I think, part of that maybe was Jim Knowles, but I think a lot of that was just the team overall. So I think overall, Blake, this is a really good hire, and it's going to bring, dude, here's the thing with him too. This is this last thing before I kick back to you. I think he's going to raise the floor immediately, because remember, people, we are in the hundreds this year. Like, we're ranking in the 100s. Like, anything is better next year. So even if it does take a couple years to implement, and a couple years for him to maybe get us in that, top 15, top 10 range, it's still going to be better immediately, because the bar was set so incredibly low last year, man.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm glad to see in the chat, like you said, that, the people are, they know good old Rocky Top, Blake G. Fellers, everyone kind of already knows, like, hey, look, it seems like everyone understands that this guy's defense is going to take a while to implement. It's going to take a while to really get the system in place. And so we're going to have to be patient. But I'm with you, Austin. It seems likely that, given his track record, it seems likely that he will immediately raise the floor a little bit. And so excited to see that, because you and I, Austin, have talked about the fact that, hey, look, especially in about 2 or 3 years, this team better be cooking.
Brother. 2 years, especially.
I
think
years
next year,
but even next year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we all expect improvement from this year, as far as record is concerned. The record needs to get better quickly. But just to go back real quick, Blake, to it taking a while to implement, because I think that is an interesting conversation. He addressed it, and I really liked what he said. He said, I think in today's game of football, it needs to be somewhat complicated, because that's been kind of the I guess criticism of his defense, is that it's complicated, because you need to have answers for everything, for teaching and installing. I've gotten better at it. I've had to particularly when you come into a situation like this. And I love this next line too, Blake. Our charge is to be great now. So that's Heupel and the staff know, like, telling him, like, dude, we know not that I'm on the hot seat, but we felt the pressure this past season. We felt, hey, Vols fans and Heupel and the staff themselves feel like 8-4 is not good enough. It's just not good enough. So they told Jim Knowles, "Hey, we know it's complicated. We know it takes time to develop and install and whatever, but your charge is to be great literally right now. You need to come in and fix this defense immediately." And again, to kind of put some, because there's a lot of criticism about, I mean, I won't say a lot. I think most people are pretty happy with the hire, Blake, but there are some critics out there with the hire. And to put some of that, the angst to rest, Blake, I will say again, you have to keep in mind, if he takes us from 100 to 40, that's a massive improvement. I mean, just
Yeah.
colossal improvement. I mean, I think if we had an average defense this year, Blake, how are we not going to make like? Of course, we'd be in the playoff. Like, I think there's no
Yes.
question that we would have at least won 10 games this year with just an average defense. So I think at the very least, Jim Knowles will be able to come in and give us that.
Yes, exactly. And so that's what I'm excited about is just, how he can, just give us at least improvement, right? Last year we talked about the outlier, maybe even last year was not as good as it should have been. I also am looking for consistency. I
Yeah.
want to see consistency from his defenses. But then also, Austin, so look in the chat, Dylan brought up, or excuse me, I'm sorry, it was Baba, I believe, bringing up in the chat, Baba 52, bringing up in the chat, hey, are there going to be some players who want to leave because how do the players feel about this guy? And then that is tied to recruiting, right? One of the reasons that we liked Travaris Robinson
Mhm.
from Georgia was because he was a great recruiter, right? And then that's half the battle in college football. And so what's your take on how he's going to fit with the players and all that good stuff?
Travaris Jackson, Blake, that's way back in your mind. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
this. Former Vikings quarterback Blake just pulled out the great
Yes.
Travaris
Yes.
Jackson. So that's hilarious. I just had to point that out. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think from a personnel standpoint, and it's early in the process, and the portal's not officially open yet. But I'm hopeful, and listen, don't come back and be upset with me if I end up being wrong about this. I'm hopeful we're going to be able to retain a lot of our guys. Now, Blake, one thing that we don't have on the docket, but I think is a good time to talk about now because we're talking about players leaving potentially. Arian Carter declared for the NFL draft. Did not see that one coming, Blake. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be drafted very high, so I'm very confused by that. We'll see what ends up happening. Obviously, wish him the best. I hope he does get drafted high, for obvious reasons. But it's going to be interesting to see that play out. Who's going? Honestly, the linebacker play wasn't that good anyway. So it's like maybe that's a you know, maybe it wasn't such a bad thing. I would have liked to have Aaron Carter back for another year, but anyway, and then of course we're Jermod McCoy has already declared for the NFL draft as well. The question I think as far as guys declaring will be the other two corners, Colton Hood, which again, if I just have to predict, I think that's a no. I think Colton Hood right now, on the consensus big board, he is currently projected to be a first round draft pick. So I think that's a no. And then Ricky Gibson. And I think Ricky could be a yes. I think he could be a yes as far as guys coming back because I don't know, coming off an injury, and Ricky wasn't really projected that high to begin with. I would be kind of surprised if Ricky Gibson doesn't come back. And then Blake, as far as the transfer portal is concerned, I'm actually excited because I'm excited about potentially poaching Penn State defensive players, Blake,
Right.
that want to come play for Jim Knowles. So we'll see how the roster plays out. But talent wise, I mean, listen, we didn't have McCoy this whole entire year, so we can't even really count him as a loss because we didn't even have him this year. There's going to be guys to replace, but ultimately, I think talent wise will be equal, if not better, next year, depending on how the portal plays out.
I'm going to choose to believe your take because I like it. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, like the
Um,
positivities, the early 2026 offseason positivity.
that's right. That's right. Baba is agreeing with you in the chat about, Aaron Carter kind of being a surprise going to the draft. Think it's probably a mistake. So he's got some agreement there. Shout out to Daniel in the chat. Shout out to Wesley in the chat. Welcome, guys, to the episode today. And good old Rocky Top talking about kind of what we're talking about with this talent. And he says that we have the horses, but Banks couldn't get the most out of them. But
Agree.
he thinks that Knowles has proven that he can. And so I think to that end, Austin, I think when you're a better coach and a better coordinator, that is part, we talk about recruiting being half the battle in coaching in college football. Well, half the battle of recruiting is being a good coach, right?
Yeah.
And a player wanting to come learn from you and then, play well under you. Therefore, his stock in the draft and so on and so forth is higher.
And that's a great point, dude. And I don't know, and I really, some of these young players, like, you just never know what's going to go through their mind. We're about to talk about Legend Bay. You don't know what's clicking in their mind, like what makes them tick. But if I were a young player, I would want to be coached by a national championship defensive coordinator.
Yep.
Like that's what I would want. And he's gotten plenty of guys drafted with Ohio State. I don't see defensive recruiting getting worse. And we've kind of talked about this through the offseason, Blake. And last episode, that offensive recruiting has generally just been better under Heupel anyways. So I mean, it's not like our defensive recruiting has been just absolutely outstanding. So man, I kind of see that at least stabilizing, being the same. So yeah, and again, keep in mind with Knowles too, man, he was like the prize of the ball just a couple years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
Penn State poached him from Ohio State, and it was a massive story. He became the highest paid defensive coordinator in the entire sport. So, I mean, and we're just 1 year removed from that. It's like he hasn't forgotten how to coach in a
Yep.
year. I think there was a lot of extenuating circumstances with the Penn State situation that it definitely wasn't just Jim. I mean, dude, if you watch any Penn State football, it was mostly Drew Aller was the reason everyone lost their job from Penn State. He was an absolute bum at quarterback, and that's why they weren't winning games, in my opinion. And again, I know about the one UCLA game, and yeah, I'm concerned about that. But listen, it's just one game, and we already kind of explained that away. One other thing, Blake, I'll say too, which I found interesting. That Heupel had to say about Jim Knowles, and I don't know where he said this at, but I don't know if he was, because I don't think they've had a press conference yet. Anyway, maybe they have, and I just missed it. But he said hiring Knowles was our top priority from the start of the process. That makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. And listen, maybe he could be lying. He could be lying. But Ryan Walters, the guy who we thought was going to get the job, Blake, and we may have maybe potentially pre-recorded a video that we had to scrap because of that. But we thought Ryan Walters was going to get the job. Apparently, he never was even offered. So I actually kind of believe Heupel that Jim Knowles was the top priority of the search. Because I think they wanted somebody with a proven track record, Blake. And the fact that they were able to get their top target for a guy.
That's great.
It's great. It's a great news, man. I think it speaks to just the perception around the program is different. I mean, we grew up through the dark ages, Blake, right? Like we went through all of that. And we all know the perception around Tennessee football at that point was the fans' expectations outweigh what the actual expectations should be. And so that's why they can never hire anyone of note. That was the narrative. I always think that was BS, but that was the narrative around the program. Getting a guy like Jim Knowles, this big fish, when a lot of teams could have used a guy like that, I think that speaks a lot about the program and the perception around it right now.
Yeah, especially when the coaching carousel is the way it is right now. There's all kinds of teams in the market for a defensive coordinator, all kinds of new head coaches getting hired, and so you'd think that he would have been picked up by one of those. Maybe James Franklin would have tried to, bring him with him, although, I don't think, I don't think the Hokies are as big of a name as, Knowles where he should be. But my point is yeah, I mean, it's a great sign. It's a great sign that we were able to get our top target. And that's yet another, praise for Heupel. So Ryan in the chat saying, putting some of the rugby players on defense. I know they can play. Hey, we cover all volunteer sports. That Tennessee rugby team, man, they're not too far removed from a national championship themselves.
Well, Blake, you might have missed it because I think Ron's bringing this up. They just won another national championship yesterday. Yesterday,
Yeah.
they won another one, Blake. So yeah, Tennessee rugby's not bad. I joked with my buddies though after I saw that those talent fees are going up again, man. We're winning national championships in rugby. Them talent fees going up, man.
I tell you what, man. But hey, everything school is still in full effect, baby. We are winning even in rugby. So it's a good time to be a Vol. Austin, real quick, last thing a lot of people bringing up a lot of good points in the chat. I want to shout out Dylan real quick. He kind of pointed out that T-Lander, he doesn't think T-Lander is going to come back because he's a true Mike linebacker in a 4-3, whereas Knowles runs a 4-2-5. And so that's a good point. And then also Dylan bringing up about recruiting, that the Adidas deal should help since we're getting more money from Adidas. So
I think it already
and
has.
we already saw. Yeah, exactly. He even mentioned that, we already saw an uptick this cycle. So that's good stuff. But and welcome Chatsworth. Better late than never. I'm here. Funny enough, Chatsworth, we were late as well,
Yeah.
significantly late. So
Exactly.
so you're good. You're not too late actually. But last thing I want to talk about, Austin, on Jim Knowles is it's not actually Jim Knowles, but coaching. Everyone
Yes.
in the chat's bringing up strength and conditioning. Real quick, what do you think about strength and conditioning?
I think we're fine with just Tim Banks this year. That's my opinion on it. I know a lot of people disagree. A lot of people thought Willie Martinez should go, the defensive backs coach and strength and conditioning. I see why people feel that way, but I just don't know. I don't think any of us felt that way after 2024. And I know none of us were saying fire Tim Banks after 2024, but at the same time, it's like if you just look at Tim Banks' resume overall, we talk about how it was significantly more bad than good. Strength and conditioning, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. It's something we'll have to keep an eye on next year, Blake. But I think Tim Banks right now, listen, we were starting to get worried that the Tim Banks thing wouldn't even happen. And that hype because, he's obviously buddies with him. He's coached with him for 5 years here at Tennessee. And so I was starting to get worried about that. So I'm just happy he did this. I think it's enough for now.
Yeah.
I think we need to just stabilize because you don't want to. Coaching turnover is not a good thing. Like, it's not a good thing.
Right.
It happened with Tim Banks because enough was enough. Like, enough was enough, dude. But you don't want coaching turnover. At least I think that's bad for an organization. You want stability, but when somebody's as bad as Tim Banks, you just you can't put up with that anymore. So I don't necessarily disagree. I don't have a strong take either way. I just think I think ultimately stability probably matters more in that situation, and give everybody else another season, right? Give everybody else another season. Get Jim Knowles in there and see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, since we're right there on the precipice of being an elite team, right? The record doesn't reflect that this year, but I think that the devil's in the details, and so we're right there. And so I tend to agree with you. Don't rock the boat too much, not yet anyway. Make incremental kind of it's almost scientific, right? You want to let's test this variable first,
exactly,
and then
exactly.
if there's still an issue, then let's test some more variables. But Dylan, once again, making a fantastic point. He says, "Hey, you know what? If we can get a big fish like Knowles for DC, shoot, why not? Figure out what old Schwarzenegger's doing nowadays." Maybe we
give
can
him
land
strength and conditioning. Hey, dude, that might help recruiting, man. I don't know how many of these kids these days know the Terminator, but hey, I mean, shoot, couldn't hurt.
Whatever edge we can get, but folks, there you have it. Jim Knowles has been hired. Is it a home run? We'll see. We will see. Time will tell, but it is certainly looking like a big time hire. Pretty much across the board, everyone agrees. Fantastic hire. We got the big fish, so we're excited to see what he can do, Austin. It is hopefully better days ahead on Rocky Top, especially for that Orange Swarm defense. But let's move next, Austin, to our next topic, which is basically avoiding yet another Boo Carter.
Yes.
Legend Bay. So here is the facts as we know them. Legend Bay signed with Tennessee.
Yep.
Flipped from Ohio State. Then it suddenly came out details saying, hey, Legend doesn't actually want to be at Tennessee. He actually wants to be at Ohio State.
Yeah.
But his family was kind of forcing him, influencing him. Then there's rumors of his mom signing his letter. He's not 18 yet. There's rumors, as soon as he turns 18, he's going to ask to be released, go to Ohio State. I'll say this real quick, Austin. We've talked a lot on this channel about, hey, we wish parents and family would help these young men make wise long-term decisions instead of rash bad decisions and mentor them. I don't know which this is. I don't know if this is his family trying to steer him in the right direction and he's not listening, or if this is his family trying to be greedy. Maybe Tennessee, or I don't. Maybe the family's making the wrong decision or call. I don't know. I hope it is that they're trying to steer him in the right direction. But the bottom line is, Austin, if he doesn't want to be here, we've seen with Boo Carter.
Yeah.
Pull the plug. What's your take?
I agree with everything you said. You made a couple of great points there. It's interesting. He was actually initially committed to Tennessee, flipped Ohio State, and then when he changed, it was last minute. It was totally unexpected when he flipped on signing day. And so then that's when kind of the rumors started, circulating. The problem with this story is, man, the facts keep changing. The facts keep changing. Right. And, one day his mom forged his signature. The next day, Tennessee football was on the phone with him and everything was fine the day of signing day. And he seemed like he wanted to do it, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. A lot of bad information on Twitter. Okay, you can't listen to Ohio State fans because Ohio State fans just want the kid. And another thing on Twitter that I saw, which again, Twitter's not real life, and it's not a reflection of the fan base as a whole, I don't think. But there are a lot of people like, oh, I just feel so bad for the kid, and I'm like, I feel, to me, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it seemed disingenuous. It came from the Ohio State fan base who genuinely really doesn't care. They just want the other recruit. They want the recruit. That's what they want. And then the Tennessee fan base started saying it, and I get it. If the kid wants to play at Ohio State, he should be able to play at Ohio State. I 100% agree with that. But you feel terrible for him. That seems a little too far. Like, I'm not going to go. Like, he's about to play Division I football for either Ohio State, a blue blood, or Tennessee, a blue blood, and he's about to get paid money to do it. Like, let's not go overboard. I feel like there's more things that we should be feeling bad about than Legend Bay and his parent. Like, the transfer portal exists. The kid's going to be able to play where he wants to play. And I'm totally with you, Blake. This is a situation, the juice is not worth the squeeze 100%. If he is even a little bit, questioning, oh, where do I want to play? Pull out the old Tony V line, man. You're either a Vol or you're not, bro. And if you're not a Vol, that's fine. Go play for Ohio State. It's not going to hurt our class. I mean, that's the thing. It's the Legend Bay does not make or break our class. This is still a top 10 class. He's not, I wouldn't even say he's a core piece of the class. The core piece is Faison and Tristan Keys, and then the tackle, in my opinion. So it's like, no, like, just let him go. We don't want another boo situation. We don't want a headache. And the kid's probably fine. Like, he's probably a fine kid. He might just want to play Ohio State, whatever. But just let that happen. Like, we don't need to try to fight this. Just let him go do his thing.
Yeah, we need 100% Vol, right? And the headline is, you said, Austin, it was Instagram that he posted on, and he was in Ohio State gear.
Yep.
And so, look, man, that is a massive. If that's true, that's a massive red flag for me. Just pull the plug. If he's posting on social media in another team's gear after he signed with us, it's a terrible look. And again, best of luck to him. No hard feelings, but do not let that seep into the locker room. Got to have some discipline in this locker room. Kevin in the chat, shout out to Kevin, talking about discipline a few messages back. And look, we need discipline. That's what great teams are made of, is good discipline. And if you have a guy being dramatic like that, posting another team's gear,
exactly,
not good.
Exactly. And we kind of talked about this, and we'll get into this with the trade, but we want more Joey Aguilars than we want Nikos on this team. And like, Legend Bay is talented. He's not even a 5-star. I mean, I think Moy was a bigger loss at the deadline to Utah than Legend Bay is. I mean, he's more highly rated. I don't even think Bay's in the top 100. I could be wrong about that. He is a 4-star. He's a talented player, but again, we got our big time receiver from this class. We got our big time quarterback. It's fine. I also think it's ridiculous the people that are implicating that Tennessee football is the problem in this. Wrong. That is the absolute. I I don't know how they would be the problem. They got a surprise like call the day of that says, "Oh, we want to sign with Tennessee." It's like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, I'm not going to be like, "Oh, are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to go to Ohio State?"
Right.
Are you 100%? Is this his mom making this decision, or is it like, dude, like, what are you? What you? The
Yeah.
people that are like that, you don't know how this works. Of course, we're going to say yes to a recruit, and you like he can leave in the spring portal. It's not even that big a deal, man. I just Tennessee football is not the problem in this situation. Like you said, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes with the family. Like, is it like his mom just thinks Tennessee's better for his future? She wants him closer. Or is it like a money thing? Like we're offering more than Ohio State, or whatever. It's like, they're two great schools. Like, I mean, I hate Ohio State, but of course it's not like you're, it's not like you're gonna have a bad career at Ohio State. It's a great place to play football. So I don't know, man. I don't know what the right decision is. That's between them, but it's just not good for our locker room. We have dealt with this way too many times recently with Boo and Nico, and so we just don't want any more of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And what's the deal with single syllable bay and boo B names and the bad luck there? But yeah, and people in the chat agree. Good old Rocky Top saying we don't need that cancer in the locker room. If someone's not going to be all Vol, Ryan says you got to be 100% in or out. But Kevin saying in the chat, like we were just saying, hey, hopefully we're supporting them, but like you said, Austin, of course we're going to say if he calls and says he's going to sign, okay, like we're not going to turn him away. And at the same time, the Tennessee football program manages, 100
Yeah.
plus Tennessee football players. It's not like Josh Heupel can be every single person's daddy. He's going to
Yeah.
try to be a good role model, but you got to figure out your own internal family stuff on your own. We can't
Yeah.
solve that problem for
I
you.
and
You
and
know.
and that kind of also goes to the whole discussion we've had on Heupel, which he's made. Listen, he has had a stellar offseason right now. Josh Heupel is winning the offseason at the moment, but we've said, hey, he might have too much on his plate. Like he's having to manage a 30 recruit signing class, which is basically a top 10, top 7, top 5 if you're looking at 24/7 signing class. He can't make sure go through every recruit and be like, oh man, like, make sure the interpersonal relationship with his family's right and everything. Like there's just too much to manage there, dude. It's way too much to manage. And people in the chat are talking about the spring portal. Yes, I am aware there is no more spring portal. However, I am going to need confirmation that that is the case starting this spring. I am
Yeah.
interested about that, and I fully support there only be one portal window. By the way,
Yes.
and I said spring portal. I meant the portal in January is still going to exist. So the January portal is still going to exist. So Legend Bay, to my understanding, can hit the portal then in January. Now, the portal window you all are referring to, I believe, is in May, maybe April. And that's the window that's going away. But I mean, that's ideal to me in college football. I mean, that would have prevented the Nico situation last year. Now,
Yeah.
we'll get into later, that probably would have hurt us more than help us. But I just think it's ultimately good that kids can't leave in the spring when, I mean, you're basically you're installing your playbook in the spring, like, and throughout summer can't, like, that's the beginning of like forming your team. So I think it's just ridiculous that kids can go and leave at that time period. So, but yeah, as far as Legend Bay is concerned, I am pretty positive he'll be able to hit the portal in January. I could be wrong about that. There's so many different rules with college football. But either way, if he doesn't want to be here, we need to let him go do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. And again, people in the media talked about, hey, he's potentially going to seek his release once he turns 18, and hopefully, if Josh Heupel's smart, if he's not in, then just release him.
Yeah.
there's no sense in
Agreed.
taking up the scholarship room, the NIL room, and the spending the development on him. If he doesn't want to be here, just let him go.
Yep.
No big deal, no harm, no foul, other than a little bit of drama. Folks, welcome. If you are just joining us, welcome to the Vol Talk podcast. We are knee deep in Austin. Honestly, Austin, we're not even halfway through yet. A jam-packed show. We
Yeah.
have been talking about Legend Bay. We just got done talking about Jim Knowles and that hire. So if you're just joining us, you can rewind and watch that segment. If you're interested in Jim Knowles, we think that is a great hire. Excited about the Tennessee defense. But we still got a lot more to cover, Austin. So
We do.
again, folks, if you're just joining us, jump in the chat. Let us know what you think as we're going through. We're going to try to answer as many chats as we can. We love interacting with you guys. We won't be able to get to everything, but then obviously, of course, give us a like on the video, and definitely subscribe if you haven't already. But Austin, let's head to the next topic, which is, I believe, the juicy drama, which is the Michigan situation. Now, a little bit. Oh, and real quick, also for the folks who are just joining, I apologize for my connection. It is quite slow today, but we're going to work through it, and hopefully Austin will do most of the talking. But and quick shout out to Ryan's joke in the chat.
Yeah.
At this point, we should have social workers on staff
Oh
for
man.
these one syllable named players. Bay and Boo.
That's
Yeah,
it's a great idea, dude.
Start to be a bad situation.
I-
But Austin,
it's a
speaking
great
of bad
idea.
situations, look,
Yeah,
real
no
quick,
doubt.
real quick, a little bit of background on some Vol Talk lore. So our dad, as everyone knows, Austin and I are brothers. Our dad is from Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is right outside Ann Arbor, Michigan. And so he is a Wolverines fan. He's a Vols fan now. He moved when they were fairly young in his teenage years to Tennessee. He loves the Vols, but he still loves his Big Blue. And so
Yeah.
Austin and I, we do like the Wolverines. Now, look, if Jace, if you're watching this episode, if you watch later, I know Jace is an Ohio State fan. We've got some other Ohio State fans. We apologize. It's just it's just the situation.
Yeah, we do
We like
not
the
like the
Wolverines.
Buckeyes.
We don't like the Buckeyes. We love you, Jace, and everyone else joining. If you're a Buckeye fan, hey, we welcome all fan bases. But yeah, we're a Wolverines fan. So, but man, Austin, holy cow!
Yeah, no,
Talk
it's
us
bad.
through this. Talk us through this Michigan situation real quick before we talk about Savion Hill.
And to add on to Blake's point, we're Vols over everything. I would pick the Vols to
Yes.
beat Michigan
Yes.
by 150 if they played. It's
10 times out
all
of 10.
yeah, exactly. It's just our second team that we root for because of that. But things are not going well there, man. That situation went from bad to worse. Breaking news this past weekend that Sharon Moore was fired with cause, and he was not on the hot seat. I think it was very clear that he wasn't going to be able to continue what Harbaugh was doing, but he wasn't on the hot seat. So when he was fired, everyone knew it was going to be with cause. And then the details came out, man, and the details are ugly.
Yes.
We might not get into all the details, but essentially had an affair with someone on the staff, a subordinate on the staff. From all reports that aren't like major sites, so like the people that are in the know, the woman got pregnant from that. And then Sharon Moore kind of went on like a tirade after that and did some real bad stuff and is facing now prison time. So not good, literally not good. It's pretty terrible.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes. And obviously, sucks for the wife and the children, and even the subordinate girl to an extent. So yeah, it sucks for everybody involved. And yeah, not a good look for Michigan. Definitely not a good look for Michigan either. Not even here to defend that. However, you have to ask the question as Vols fans, we're seeing the talk on social media. I think it's fair that the portal rule with coaches, you have I believe it's a 15, maybe 30-day window where you can transfer after a coach is fired, a sitting head coach is fired at your school. And then that opens up the Savion Hyder talk because he was a guy who was heavily recruited by Tennessee. It came down I believe at the end, Virginia Tech started making a push with Franklin, but I believe it, towards the middle of the recruitment, it was Tennessee or Michigan, and he chose Michigan. And I don't know if this is going to change his decision at all. The last thing I saw, Blake, was there was this fake Twitter account who posts, like, it's just like a troll account, right? It's just like Richard G. West type account, Blake, that said that Savion was asking out of his letter of intent. And Savion posted this on his Instagram and said people are just straight up lying or something like that. Which of course, I think it might have been a Tennessee fan. I'm not even gonna lie, dude. It might have been a Tennessee fan that made the fake account. I'm pretty sure it was,
Yeah.
because that's Vol Twitter. But yeah, I mean, as of now, he's not asked out of his letter of intent, and I don't even know when the portal window opens. I don't know how long it's going to be open for the current players on Michigan's roster, but I think it's something to watch out for because a lot of players do commit for the head coach, and in general, like, especially depending on who Michigan hires, I think that will be a big part of it, Blake. How many of those players want to play for that new coach, and a program who is now, whether we like it or not, is tainted with this situation. It just is. It doesn't make the University of Michigan look good at all, especially considering the Connor Stallion stuff. And I know Tennessee
Yep.
fans have their thoughts on that. How Michigan maybe was getting help from South Carolina, or gave help to South Carolina in that 2022 game. I have my own opinions on that, a lot of which you all will not like. But at the end of the day, it's not a good look. None of it's a good look for Michigan. So do players really want to play for that, like, right now? Like, it's not a situation I would necessarily want to be a part of. And again, this is coming from dudes who, dad's from Michigan, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, not great. And so maybe we benefit from that, Blake.
Yeah, benefit from a terrible situation, which is, again, like you said, first and foremost, we pray for the coach's wife and kids, and obviously he made a very terrible decision, and so of course, he needs to see justice for that. We pray that everything works out well for those who were affected, but here we are. Are we going to be able to get a great running back? Because Austin, you and I talked about not so long ago, man. If we imagine
Oh
that
yeah.
class with
Oh yeah.
Faison
I
Brandon,
know.
Tristan Keys, and Savion Hyder,
I know.
man, that would be some class.
It
Now,
would be.
and the chat is bringing up the same question that we're bringing up, which is does Hyder really want to play for a program in shambles right now? Now, here's the deal: money, NIL.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, it may not matter. He's getting his paycheck, and it may not matter. And then also, it like you said, it's a great point. It may be a matter of he wants to see who they're going to bring in, but
And
regardless, it's opens the door possibly for us.
it does. It opens the door. And Blake, it's also interesting. It could also impact one of our biggest rivals. One of the names that have popped up in the coaching search is Kalen DeBoer for Alabama. And Kalen DeBoer's
Yes.
name, interestingly, has come up for a lot of Big Ten jobs. I think he's feeling the pressure of coaching the Crimson, man. He's feeling the pressure of it, and it's not going the best. I mean, and we're going to get into that with the playoff discussion later, which is something, gosh, we might talk, an hour about, but who knows? We'll see. But if Michigan finds a way to poach DeBoer, then that could cause an absolute ripple effect through the SEC, because we just got done talking about the LSU situation and Lane Kiffin, how if that Bama job comes open, well, Kiffin, man, he might be packing his bags in Baton Rouge. He might be headed to Alabama. So a lot of interesting things that could come out of the Michigan head coaching search. But who knows how much difficulty they're going to have getting a coach, though, Blake, because
Right.
of this
Yes.
situation happening. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Michigan is right up there in the bluest of bloods, and not just because their colors are blue and yellow. I mean, it's a storied program. But man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to find a coach wanting to come into that kind of mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I tell you this, Austin, I tell you this, it's a lot of ifs, but if they are somehow able to poach DeBoer, and then somehow all this falls into
Shoo-wee.
place and Kiffin breaks his own record and leaves LSU before he even coaches a game, brother.
That's
Let me tell
incredible,
you
dude.
something.
It's incredible.
Be ready. You better
Oh,
be ready. You better have your notifications on the Vol Talk
yeah.
channel for that show, because
It's
that is going to be
a
a
huge one.
fun show,
A
brother.
huge one. I mean,
That is going to be.
I hope it happens just so that we can get on here and talk about it. I just think that will be it'll probably end up being the funnest episode in Vol Talk history if all that plays out. Unfortunately, again, it's off the back of a horrible situation, and I think we've said that caveat a few times. Really sucks again overall. But obviously, selfishly, if we're just being real, I would love to get an extra 5-star running back out of it. Now, Blake, there's another 5-star running back. Man, and I'm forgetting his name. I think his initials are DGG. He plays for Baylor High School in Tennessee. 5-star 2027 running back. Dude is an absolute monster, man. An absolute monster. Derrick Henry-esque recruit out of Tennessee. And honestly, that's been kind of my thought process. And I don't know, again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, how much Heupel's, pushing for Hyder and whatnot. But if it means we lose out on Hyder, which, right now it looks like we have, for this other recruit in 2027, Blake, then so be it, man. The kid is an absolute monster. Yes, thank you. David Gabriel George, he's an absolute beast, dude. You got to look into his highlight tape. I believe his team just won a state championship. Actually, our tackle in the 2026 class, Blake, plays on that Baylor team as well. So just something to keep an eye out as far as an elite running back. Because, I mean, we've had some great running backs. Obviously, Dylan Sampson here recently. I don't know the last time we've got an elite recruit at running back was like a truly elite 5-star recruit, especially one that worked out. I mean, feels like never. So, yeah, so it'd be nice to get a guy like that or Hyder. I mean, I would obviously be open to that too, depending on how that Michigan situation plays out.
Well, Austin, 5-star running backs, we once upon a time got a great one in Bryce Brown. He didn't have
complete bust.
the best of, he didn't have the best of college careers, but it's been a while since we've got a big name running back. Would be spectacular, whether it's Hyder, whether it's David Gabriel George. Definitely would love to have another guy that can replace Dylan Sampson's production for sure. A couple great chats here. Awesome. Just going to catch up real quick. Good old Rocky Top agrees we need a stud running back. Lynn in the chat saying he's actually glad that Alabama got in the playoff because he just wants to watch him lose one more time.
I love it, Lynn.
I love it. I love it, Lynn.
I love that.
Yes, absolutely. I don't want Alabama to win any playoff games.
Hey,
but I definitely would.
And
love
they
to see
fed them.
again.
And again, this is something we're about to talk about. But Daniel mentioned in the chat, they fed them Oklahoma. Man, Oklahoma has had Bama's number the last 2 years. So we'll see, Bama.
Yeah, we will, but unfortunately, the law of averages catches up eventually, so that's also not good. But hopefully, they lose. We're going to talk about that here soon, folks. It's going to be a fun discussion, like Austin mentioned. Dylan in the chat talking about Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State, ASU, hot name for Michigan. So we're definitely going to keep a pulse on the Michigan situation because there's a lot of things that could have ripple effects for Tennessee. So, and shout out to good old Rocky Top who says that Baylor High School is down there in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where he lives. Shout out to Chattanooga. Austin, my best memory of Chattanooga was when I was a young boy. Me and mom and dad went to a restaurant called Cheeseburger. And the waitress accidentally brought me dad's ale. I was about 4 or 5, and then my mom, not knowing that I was given beer, forced me to drink it. And then they realized I did not have the root beer that I had ordered. They accidentally brought me the ale. So hey, shout out to Chattanooga. I don't think Cheeseburger's still around, but good place down there. Good old Rocky Top. And Lamone in the chat. Welcome, Lamone. Good to see you, buddy. Austin, man, it is a jam-packed show, but we've still got more.
We're
Brother,
pushing through, baby.
We still got so much more. So I don't even shoot. I think I've lost track, Austin. I don't even know what's next on the docket. Are we going to do the trade talk next?
Do we want to talk playoff next, or do we want to talk trade next? It's up to y'all. What do y'all think? Playoff talk or Nico versus Aguilar next?
We were just talking about Bama, so let's just go ahead and jump into the Bama playoff situation.
I like that idea.
Yes. So, okay, Austin, we gotta lay this out first. We're gonna we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff, but here is the fact of the matter: Alabama, their best win this season, arguably, was probably objectively was Georgia.
Yep.
And then they faced Georgia in the SEC championship, and they got annihilated. 28-7 was the final score, but that wasn't even descriptive of how much they were annihilated.
Let me just add real quick to add to that, Blake. -3 rushing yards on the game, didn't pass the 50 until the fourth quarter. It was literally not close at any point at any time in the game, except when they kicked off 0-0.
So exactly. So absolutely annihilated. And Austin, somehow this college football playoff committee, and we're going to get into the nature of these folks.
Yes.
And shout out to good old Rocky Top. I'm sorry. He wanted to talk about the trade.
We will get into it. We will get into it.
I guess you're just going to have to stick around a little bit longer, brother. But Austin, this playoff committee didn't move Alabama a single spot in the rankings.
Yep.
And
unprecedented, by the way.
Unprecedented because every team that has lost the conference championship has at least moved a spot, if not more. And Bingo. Austin, the 2023 Georgia Bulldogs lost by a field goal.
Correct.
In the SEC championship and dropped out of the playoffs. 5 spots.
Correct.
This is the college football playoff committee we're talking about.
Yep.
And Alabama didn't move a single spot. And the icing on the cake, Austin, was that they decided randomly when both Miami and Notre Dame were inactive, they randomly decided, you know what, Notre Dame, screw you, buddy.
Yeah.
We're gonna kick you back a spot and let Miami leapfrog you. Austin, talk us through this.
There's a lot to say. I'm not an Irish fan. I grew up. Listen, me and Blake, I mean, y'all know, y'all Tennesseans know, we grew up in an area where Notre Dame is not liked very much. And there might be some deep-rooted reasons for that, but they're not. Notre Dame's not liked very much around here amongst many, many people. And I agree. They should join a conference, whatever. But the reasoning for that was absolutely ridiculous. And I'll circle back to that in a minute, but we have to get into the Bama discussion because you brought up some great points, man. It was truly unprecedented that Alabama didn't drop a single spot from their conference championship. Okay, so the whole argument is we're not going to have conference championships hurt a team because it's an extra game. Okay, well, Blake, I have a couple questions for you. Why did Ohio State drop below Indiana? Why? I mean, do we have a reason for that? I can't think of one. If it's an extra game, if the game doesn't matter, why did they drop? And a lot of people bring up SMU. I had a buddy text me and said, well, they set the precedent with SMU. No, they did not. SMU dropped 3 spots after losing by a game-losing field goal to Clemson. A walk-off field goal. They lost to Clemson and dropped 3 spots in the rankings. Did they drop out of the rankings? No, because they would have had to absolutely screw them and put in a 3-loss SEC team, who had literally, by the way, said SEC team is Alabama, and they were itching to get Alabama in last year after coming off a 24-3 defeat against Oklahoma. 24-3 defeat, literally just weeks prior to Oklahoma. That's what they would have had to do to SMU. It's not even comparable. Not even comparable. They dropped 3 spots. SMU lost by a field goal. Bama lost by complete and utter annihilation. And another talking point that absolutely blew my mind, Blake, during this process is, well, look at Bama's best win. They might have the best win of the year at Georgia. That's what I heard Kirk Herbstreit say. Kirk Herbstreit. He said it might be the best win of the year at Georgia. And I'm sitting here thinking, what? How could you even say that when they played the exact same game on a neutral field in Atlanta and Georgia beat them 28-7? So wouldn't that be a better win than winning by 3 points? Would that not be?
Yes.
You think winning at Georgia is worth 21 points? Or actually that's mind-boggling to me. You think that's worth 3 scores? That's just unbelievable. That's not how Vegas handles it. Vegas handles home field advantage as 3 points, Blake. You get 3 points for home field advantage in the Vegas line. It's just such an asinine thing to say, especially the timing, Blake. And this is the last thing I'll say. The timing is so critical, dude. It happened at the beginning of the year versus the last thing we saw. The last thing we saw was Bama absolutely looking like they don't even belong anywhere near the conversation that Georgia's in. But you're still calling the Bama win at Georgia the best of the season. What a stupid thing to say. Stupid.
And yes, and I was just going to quickly shout out, in terms of the home field advantage and Vegas giving it 3 points. Let's be honest, I'm going to take a shot at Georgia. That's a little generous for Sanford Stadium anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like that's like a super notorious difficult place to play.
It's not like it's Neyland. Let's just say how it is. It's not like it's Neyland.
It's not even a Bryant Denny, right? Okay,
no,
so
it's not.
So yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to bring up, Austin, is holy cow, man. The committee has said over and over again that they look at more recent games, to under like, oh, what is the team right now? What are they right now?
Exactly.
Well, right now, dude, Alabama's looking like they don't even belong on the same field as Georgia.
No, of course not. And Blake, it's one of the criteria I actually agree with the committee on. I actually think you should be looking at how a team is looking at the end of the year opposed to the beginning of the year. I think it matters more. I think it totally matters more. It's actually why I think Notre Dame should have made it in over Miami. I know I'll catch flack for that because of the head-to-head. But my biggest irritation with that is just how you had Notre Dame ranked ahead of them for 4 weeks and then just decided to change it. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But getting back to Bama, it's just, let's review how they played, Blake. Let's look how they looked heading into the playoffs. Their last 3 SEC games, right? Last 3 SEC games they played. Oklahoma beat Alabama in Bryant-Denny. Beat them in Bryant-Denny. Made that offense look completely terrible. Then Auburn took Alabama to the final seconds of the game, man. I mean, Auburn was in this game the entire time. They had a chance to win it, and I still stand by the fact that Alabama got extremely favorable officiating in that game. Extremely favorable. Plus, Auburn couldn't get out of their own way. The quarterback was dropping dimes. The receivers couldn't even catch passes. It was not a good performance by Bama, who, against a team who had won one SEC game the entire year against Arkansas in Auburn. It's like, that's not a good win at all. And keep in mind, with this playoff committee, Blake, just to reiterate, after that Auburn win by 7 points, comparing it with like the 40-point victory against Stanford and Notre Dame, they flipped Notre Dame and Alabama. They had Notre Dame ranked ahead of Alabama for weeks. And the deciding factor was, well, Bama beat Auburn, a 5-7 team that had one SEC win on the entire season. And I told you this, maybe on camera, maybe off, can't remember. One of the criteria for that was that Bama went for it on 4th down late in the game. I heard that from my buddy Dakota, who watched the reveal. I don't even watch those goobers anymore, man. I can't stand listening to the playoff committee. It's just, I mean, it's a total and utter joke, man. I say this all the time. They are there to drink and socialize. You see literally zero members of that committee with a pen or paper writing any notes. There's no game notes. They're literally sitting there watching games for 10 hours. Zero game notes. They have drinks in their hand and they're socializing with all the suits. I've said this for a long time, man. I think they're just trying to find a reason to get out of the house for a day. I really do. Because, like, what else are you there for? I mean, you might as well make me and my buddies on the couch the playoff committee. That's what we do. We drink, we socialize, and we watch the games. I mean, we are as capable as doing what they're doing
Yeah.
in the playoff committee. And they're literally deciding who has a chance to play for a national championship. I
Yep.
mean, give me a break, man. These dudes, complete goobers, and you just can't take them seriously, man. And they're honestly, I hate to say this, they're ruining the sport. They're ruining the sport, Blake, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean that combined with all the NIL and transfer portal issues, which hopefully those are going to get better with a little bit of change coming from the court case and all that. But I digress. Yeah, dude. And look, I'm going to get to what I personally think here in a second on the playoff situation. But look, Austin, I want to, first of all, at the end of the day. These guys also have a vested interest in the big logos getting more money. And shout out to Dylan's point in the chat, it's at the end of the day, it's still about money, right?
Yes.
It's still about money, as opposed to the love of the game. But Austin, I want to really quick touch on again. This is a Vol Talk channel, so I've got to bring up this situation with the head-to-head. You talked briefly about, the head-to-head, and that's what, they're like, oh, well, all of a sudden, this year with Miami and Notre Dame, oh, well, they're right next to each other, and so now we had to consider the head-to-head, and well, Miami had the head-to-head, and so we got to jump them over Notre Dame. Okay, first of all, why were you not considering it before, right? Because the head-to-head win had already happened. But, again, Austin, inconsistency, okay, this is the same committee that just a few years ago in 2022 now it was still a 14 playoff back then, so it didn't ultimately matter, but
same committee though. Same committee.
It's the college football playoff committee. Alabama and Tennessee ended up right next to each other in the rankings.
5 and 6.
And
Blake.
Austin and 5 and 6, Alabama, Tennessee. And not only did we have the head-to-head, Austin, against Alabama, but also we walloped LSU, the common opponent,
who they lost to.
That
was the resumes
LSU in Death Valley, and you decided still to put Tennessee at 6 and Alabama at 5. Now I know, folks, this is 2022. We're talking about, this is old news, but I'm building the case for the complete inconsistency.
Yes,
exactly.
It's the inconsistencies, man. It's the inconsistency within the year. It's because, like, you bring out 2022, they've been inconsistent this season, and the inconsistencies, the reason for it, are very simple, and it's what Dylan said. It's what you said. It's about money. Of course, you're going to have Alabama in the playoff over any other team. They are literally the most viewed team in college football by the numbers this year. They are the most viewed team on a week-to-week basis. And a lot of the viewers want to see them lose. But hey, hate sells, man. Hate sells. I mean, it's like for any boxing fans in the chat, there might not be many. Floyd Mayweather is one of the highest selling boxers of all time, Blake. Do you know why? Because people want to see Floyd lose. And that's why Alabama gets a lot of views. They bring in a lot of money. There's a lot of Alabama haters, and they want to see him lose, including myself. But at the end of the day, man, and at the end of the day, this is what really irks me about the sport we all love. I mean, we're here, we're talking about it on a Sunday. We clearly all love college football. college football has never been about crowning the best team, the national champion. That hasn't been the case for 150 years of this sport. It's not about that. It's not about who's the best. It's never been about that. And I can prove it because for years, Bowls ran the sport. Bowls ran the sport, Blake. That's what brought in the money. They thought, well, that's what sustains us here, the bowl games. So we're never actually going to face the best teams versus the best to find out who the true national champion is. And then, Blake, we had the BCS and had all the issues with that. The biggest issue with the BCS is, well, there's teams like 2003 Auburn that never get an opportunity, even though they're the undefeated SEC champions. They don't even get an opportunity to play for a national championship. So you can't just have two teams and have a computer decide. Like, you just can't. It's not enough. But then we start this committee business. The problem with the committee is you have sitting ADs from schools making the decisions. Like, do you not... That is an insane conflict of interest. You have sitting conference commissioners like Greg Sankey, the ACC commissioner, making these decisions, man. They're making these decisions. The ACC commissioner was a part of the decision to put Miami over Notre Dame. How can you not see the conflict of interest of that? Of course, the ACC is going to choose their team over the Fighting Irish. Of course they are. Like, that just makes sense. They don't even have their champion in there because the playoff system's so screwed up that we had to consider 7-5 Duke potentially making the playoffs. And that gets to good old Rocky Top's point in the chat, Blake, where now we have 2 group of 5 schools in the college football playoff. Like, dude, give me a break. That should tell you all you need to know about. This is not about crowning the best. It's not. Or else we wouldn't have Tulane and JMU in the dance. Like, that's insane. Imagine, Blake, and we all hate Vanderbilt, right? I'm a Vanderbilt hater, especially with Pavia. Imagine how pissed we would be if we were 10-2 and JMU and Tulane made the playoffs over us, dude.
Yep.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're playing in the freaking SEC for crying out loud. And you're 10-2, and then JMU or Tulane gets in over you. Absolutely asinine. And yes, the ACC, the conflict of interest. Austin, correct me if I'm wrong, but the ACC, a once proud conference, is not in the playoff if it's not for Miami.
Correct. That's exactly right.
So of course they're gonna find a way to do mental gymnastics and put Miami in. Now, good old Rocky Top, everyone else in the chat, hey, Notre Dame needs to join a conference.
Agreed.
Yes. And that's not exactly what we're talking about right now. Yes, that's true. But it's like, these mental gymnastics that this committee is doing to try to hide their bias. I mean, it's just, it's just crazy. Daniel Hightower in the chat says, I guess the first game of the season in Notre Dame's case matters more than the most recent game of the season in Bama's case.
That's a fantastic point, man. I mean, listen, I get Notre Dame. People, these two things can be true. I can think Notre Dame should join the conference and think that they should have been ahead of Bama this year. Because again, to Daniel's point, part of the playoff criteria is how the team is playing now, okay? But then they have all this other criteria that contradict each other because, listen, you cannot tell me Notre Dame wasn't playing better than Miami and Alabama at the end of the year. At the end of the day, they were playing better. And let's not forget, Bama started the year terrible and ended the year terrible. Okay.
Right.
They lose to FSU game 1, and then they end the year losing by 3 touchdowns, not even passing the 50-yard line to Georgia. Like, there's just so many inconsistencies in the playoff committee. And again, they're going to adhere to the rules that they make up on the spot, Blake, because guess what? The rules they make up on the spot, they can manipulate and change things around where they get what they want. That they get what they want in the playoffs. And listen, they know they want to continue to stay around too. That's what people have to think about these things. The college football playoff is a created entity. It's not controlled by the NCAA. It's not controlled by the conferences. It's literally its own entity, right? That entered into the college football space. And these guys on this committee, they still want this big bad badge. Oh,
Yeah.
playoff, college football playoff committee. Like, and if people realize, hey, we don't actually need these goobers to do this, like we don't actually need you all, and you're really bad at your job, then they're gonna cease to exist, and they want to exist. By the way, they want to
Yes.
they want to continue to be on this committee. And one way you continue to be on the committee, Blake, you suck up to one of the most powerful people in college football, which is Greg Sankey, the SEC
Yeah.
commissioner. He is you
Yeah.
could say pound for pound the most powerful person in college football. And guess Greg Sankey said there should be 7 SEC teams in the
I know.
playoffs. He thought there should be 9 and 3 Texas, who lost to
But
Florida and DJ Lagway. Like,
because of course he's going to say that because his job is to make money for the SEC, right?
yes.
And so we can, and look, Austin, we've talked before. We're not doing the whole go SEC thing. This is Tennessee Volunteers,
No.
baby. I don't give a damn about the rest of the SEC. In fact, I want to see them lose at my expense. Okay. And so, yeah, Greg Sankey, he's going to be, obviously he's going to be trying to make money for the SEC.
Yes.
And you know, and here's the deal, Austin. We, you know, people talking in the chat, you know, about let's see, here it is. Lynn's suggestion is to have the committee be made up of high school football coaches who have won a state championship. Hey, you know, maybe that is a solution. Here's the deal though, Austin. At the end of the day, all humans are going to have some sort of bias for, you know, pretty much through and through. There's going to be some, we're self-interested. People are going to have, if you put me on the committee, of course, I'm going to be putting the Vols.
Yeah, like, are you kidding me? It's just how
Of
it
course.
works.
It's just how it works. So, Austin, this might be controversial. The problem has always been we lacked a playoff. And that was the problem
Correct.
with the BCS. The
Yep.
BCS was not necessarily the system in and of itself. It was the fact that it just gave an opportunity to the 1 and 2 teams. And then again, like you mentioned, you would have years where, hey, there's a third or even fourth team where it's like, hey, this team is possibly the best team in the country, but we're never going to know. BCS, Austin, my solution. BCS, bring back the BCS, which there's it takes into account a little bit of the human, you know, voting with the AP poll, but then it, you know, lets a computer, unbiased computer, you know, kind of figured out, apply that, but to a 12-team playoff. I don't know.
I love the idea, and you could even adjust it, Blake. You could even adjust what the and you're gonna have to. The problem is you're gonna have. You need somebody that's involved in college football and leads college football that cares about the sport of college football and the betterment of the sport and investing back into the sport. And if that person with other people, like-minded people, created a BCS system that could unbiasedly pick the playoff members in a given year, I think it's a fantastic idea. I do. I think a lot of what we have now is flawed with like FPI with ESPN. ESPN's FPI really probably couldn't be a part of it because it's so flawed. But there are things that you could do, and of course, like it wouldn't just be who's it wouldn't be like Pate's power rankings, right? It wouldn't be the 12 teams that are favored in the Vegas spread would make the playoffs. It would still be merit based. However, it would take the human element out of it and say, well, you know, if the system thinks so and so team is better, then they're better at this time. And I ultimately agree with a lot of the points in the chat about the group of 5 and things like that. I mean, I've always said it like this, Blake. The year Cincinnati made the 14 playoff, right? Their big resume was they're undefeated and they beat Notre Dame. And Notre Dame was the bubble team. They were the team on the bubble, the 5th team out, or the first team out, the 5th team ranked. My point with the group of 5 is if a group of 5 team is worthy, then they'll be ranked in the top 12. If they are worthy. I feel that way about all the conference champions. I don't think we need automatic bids at all. I think you should get rid of them. I think the only reason they had them in the first place is that everyone could sign off on it and they could expand the playoffs. I think at the end of the day, Blake, if you are worthy of being in the top 12, then then sure, then you're there, then you're good, okay, as a conference champion. But if you're the ACC champion and you're not ranked in the top 12, then the ACC probably shouldn't have a team because the ACC
Probably not.
sucks. Like at the end of the day, and that's how I feel about the group of 5 this year, man. There are too many. There's no worthy group of 5 team. It's not like a Boise State situation or a Cincinnati situation. There's just none of them are worthy, and we have 2 games, 2 playoff games. They care about money. We know they care about money. Yet they want to show 2 absolute blowouts in round 1 of the playoffs, basically giving more teams free bye weeks. Just makes no sense, man. And it just goes back to my original point with this committee, man, and college football in general. It's never been about crowning the best, man. It's never been about that. Go look at some of the old AP polls, Blake, and champions or championships that are claimed that people have banners for that are complete and utter jokes, dude. I mean, because of the corruption that has existed in this sport since the beginning. It's never been about determining who the best team in the sport is, like every other sport in the
Right.
literal history of mankind is, including college football at the FCS level. Like, it's insane to me, man.
Exactly. The FCA, and it's just, I mean, it just goes to show it's about money. It's the biggest money making college sport in particular, and one of the biggest money making sports in general, including professional sports. And so, of course, it's been about the money. It's not about crowning the best, even though literally every other sport does. But again, that's where I'm like, hey, we got to take out the bias somehow. And ultimately, Austin, things will shake out, right? Especially with the automatic bids and the conference champions. Look, if you are a good enough conference with a good enough champion, then you're going to be ranked high enough anyway.
Correct.
We don't need any of this, automatic bid stuff.
We don't.
Real quick, shout out to the chat here. We got Rhonda in the chat. Welcome, Rhonda. Glad to see you back, Rhonda. Glad you can make it. And she says, I will be glad to choose who goes to the playoffs. Rhonda, I would make you a committee of 1 in a heartbeat.
Well, genuinely though, fans of the sport would be better committee members, man, because again, and I think this is my last point on the playoff stuff, dude. We need somebody to lead college football who cares about college football, man. And that's the motivation. Yeah. The motivation isn't money. The motivation isn't status or power. The motivation is I want to better the sport, not just for the short term, but for the long-term health of the sport.
Exactly. That's the bottom line. Make it the best for college football because we love the sport, and that's what needs to be the number 1 priority. A shout out to Matt in the chat as well. He says, what is up, fanatics? That is indeed true. Guilty as charged, Matt. We are Vol fanatics, no doubt. Welcome, buddy. Good to see you again. Austin, yeah, at the end of the day, look, Bama probably shouldn't have been in the playoff, but I'll tell you this, at the very least, to bring it back to the headline, they should have moved. We didn't even talk a ton. We talked very little about the main issue that kicked off this whole discussion, which is they didn't even move a spot. They got blasted. Daniel's been making great points in the chat. He's like, hey, Notre Dame lost by 3 points at Miami, but Bama got smoked on a neutral field. Yeah, in week 1, and then Bama got smoked on a neutral field, and don't move a spot. Doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. The bias of the committee is very apparent.
Yes,
to me. So
correct.
Make it better,
please.
As much as I hate Nick Saban, maybe he needs to be the college football czar.
I honestly, I think it would be a good decision for the sport, man, because it's not just the playoffs either. We all know the NIL transfer portal crap that's going on. There's a lot of issues with the sport currently.
Absolutely. Folks, jump in the chat and let us know what you think. We got Dylan, we got Ryan, we got Rhonda, we got good old Rocky Top, Matt, Lynn, everyone I think I already said Dylan. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Let us know what you think in the chat. about this situation with Alabama. Let us know what your solution would be. Dylan just said in the chat his solution, hey, expand the committee, do something. Let us know what your thoughts are in the chat here. If you're watching after the fact or if you're watching on Spotify, drop in the comments. Let us know what you think about what we should do about the college football playoff committee. But Austin, the people are itching, brother. They are itching to talk about the trade. We have got the season is over, and so now we can officially revisit college football's first ever de facto trade, which was Nico Iamaleava. That's the last time I'm going to pronounce his name correctly. He doesn't deserve that anymore. Nico Iamaleava and Joey Aguilar traded between UCLA and Tennessee. And brother, the proof, as I like to say on this podcast, the proof is in the pudding. Talk us through the pudding.
Could you imagine if we could have added Tim Banks to that trade? We'd probably be talking about our playoff game right now if we could have got Tim Banks with that Nico trade. It wasn't close, dude. It was absolutely not close. I've been harping all offseason that I think Tennessee fans need to stop using this as an excuse for this record that we had this year, the 8-4 record, which, by the way, was a whole lot better than the 3-9 record at UCLA, Blake, by the way, which is what they finished at. So, yeah, man.
With an easier schedule, by the way.
Oh, way easier schedule. So here's the deal. It just nothing is comparable. Nothing's comparable. Even because if a lot of UCLA fans and Tennessee fans, maybe Tennessee fans for some reason that still defend Nico, which there are very few, but they exist for some reason. They'll say, well, look at Nico in the situation. The situation wasn't there, which is funny. That's ironic when that's said, Blake, because let's remember one last time. Let's revisit it, Blake. What was the revisionist history when Nico wanted to transfer from Tennessee? It was the situation wasn't good enough. The situation wasn't good enough around him, Blake. It was the receivers. It was the offensive line. Poor me. I just don't have enough around me. Even though Dylan Sampson and our defense dragged you to the playoffs in 24. That was, and by the way, Blake, the three receivers this year who were top 10 in SEC receiving yards were on that 24 team, by the way. They were on that same team. Like, those receivers, Mike Matthews, Chris Brazzell, and Braylon Staley were all on that 24 team. But it was the situation, Blake. That's why he left. Let's just pretend that's the case. Okay. So he goes to UCLA. He goes 3-9 with that situation. Okay. Well, maybe he was good, but the team wasn't. Maybe that was it. No. A lot of the reason they were losing is because of Nico under center, Blake. That's the reason. I have some stats, some PFF stuff if we want to get into that, Blake. Just comparing Joey Aguilar and Nico, because I think it paints a picture that, hey, Aguilar might not have been perfect this year. The Tennessee Vols didn't make the playoffs, but without question, in my estimation, Blake, Joey Aguilar made this Tennessee offense significantly better compared to Nico in 24.
Absolutely. And again, the numbers are there. We're going to talk about Austin. There's some numbers. I really want to talk about some nuanced numbers, including drop percentages that you're going to get into. But again, folks, jump in the chat. We've had a couple people. They're few and far between. A couple people who have said that they've clung to this idea that we would have been better with Nico, that he would have progressed or something. Look, yes, ultimately we're never going to know what would have happened with Nico because we didn't experience it. We had Joey Aguilar. They had Nico at UCLA. But Austin, the numbers are there. The intangibles are there. And it's like, I don't quite understand how. And look, let's be honest. You and I are pretty level-headed Vols fans. If Joey Aguilar had been a huge issue, and by the way, we did criticize Joey Aguilar when he made mistakes. Yes. He made the critical mistake against Alabama, probably the game.
It wasn't perfect, Blake. It wasn't perfect.
It wasn't perfect, and we criticized him when he made mistakes. But we would have, if Joey Aguilar had just vastly made us vastly worse, we would have said, "Hey, man, like this is
We got it
this
wrong.
is a throw. It's a throwaway year. It's a throwaway year." But
Yeah.
that's not what
That's
happened.
not what
Instead,
happened at all.
we were celebrating because he elevated the offense.
Correct. We were top 10 in every relevant category on offense this year in the entire country. The offense was better. And listen, if you want to say Aguilar started having turnover issues towards the end of the year, maybe even the middle of the year with the Alabama game, the Oklahoma game, I hear you. It wasn't perfect, but his bad games were way better than Nico's bad games last year, Blake. And I gotta disagree with Dylan in the chat. Dylan's a great chatter, but I just don't think year two of Nico would have been better, man. I just don't think it would have been because there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of that. I think if we're just saying from a very honest viewpoint, Blake, because we are trying to be level-headed, I think the running ability would have been better. Nico's a great athlete. Fantastic athlete. But look at what he did at UCLA. He chose the situation at UCLA, man. And he said the reason he left, that's what his camp said. That's not what really happened. But he said the reason he left Tennessee is because the situation around him at Tennessee and the Josh Heupel offense wasn't developing him to become the best player he can possibly be. Nico got much worse this year, man, at UCLA. He got much worse, and I just don't think he didn't show enough last year for me to say. I mean, the last thing we saw of him last year in a Tennessee uniform was him versus Ohio State, Blake. Him looking like a complete and utter bum against Ohio
Yep.
State. I mean, it was just overall, it was extremely inconsistent year one with Nico, and overall, I would say average at the very best, maybe even below average. And then this year two in college football for him, or year two as a starter in college football, I should say, he got worse, man. He took UCLA to a 3-9 record. Dude, and again, to remind people that have forgotten, because I think a lot of people are just they have the Aguilar, the last thing he did on their minds, Blake, and they're forgetting just how bad UCLA was this year. People,
Yeah.
New Mexico, right? A team that UCLA played this year, Blake, hadn't had a Power 5 win since 2008, the beginning of the recession. Barack Obama term one, Blake, was the last time New Mexico had a Power 5 win, and Nico's UCLA Bruins gave that to them this year, Blake. That's what they gave them. Their first Power 5 win since 2008. That's how bad they were. And did they get a bump with the new OC against Penn State? For sure. They had a 3-game winning streak in there, which Nico, by the way, really only played well in one of those games, which was the Penn State game. And that was by far his best game last year or this year. And then after that 3-game winning streak, Blake, they ended the year losing every single game, a lot of which were complete and utter blowouts, dude. I can't fathom. I just don't think we have any evidence saying that Nico would have been better this year. I don't think we do. I think everything points to the opposite. I think Joey overall made their offense because we just got done talking about Tim Banks and Jim Knowles and how the defense is going to get better, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, let's not forget, people. Look at what Nico had on defense last year, which he has nothing to do with. Right? In fact, he put his defense in worse situations, I would argue, Blake, because we were going 3 and out a lot last year. Okay. 0 points in the first half in 3 straight, in the first half in 3 straight games, 0 points. That's not putting your defense in a good spot. His defense was better. And then Joey Aguilar was working with one of the worst defenses in the entire college football, man. Could you imagine if the Fireman had last year's defense this year?
Exactly. And and to clarify, we certainly don't think we would have been better with Nico this year than we were with Joey. In fact, we think we certainly would have been worse with Nico than with Joey. But to Dylan's point, and Dylan's making some valid points, right? In terms of, would Nico have been better than year one Nico? So not comparing Nico to Aguilar, but this year, but would year two Nico have been better than year one Nico? And he makes some valid points about not putting a ton of stock in UCLA because UCLA was going through coaches. And he makes a great point that Hendon Hooker vastly improved under Heupel in year two. Very true. But
Yeah.
here's where I push back, Austin. The issue with Nico was intangible stuff. I think
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker had the ability to learn the system and get better. And Nico is certainly athletic. And naturally, you're going to, with consistency, you are going to, I mean, practice makes perfect, right? Eventually, you're going to get a little bit better with consistency. But the issue, I think, Austin, with Nico, I think it's very clear that what we saw was it was an intangible thing that wouldn't have or couldn't have improved. He wasn't a good leader. His
Yeah.
teammates didn't appreciate his leadership. He wasn't outspoken enough. He couldn't get through his progressions, Austin. He just
Yeah.
he
Exactly.
and someone was saying in the chat, I don't remember who it was, decision making. He wasn't making quick decisions. And that's not something that all of a sudden you're better, like you just improve
No.
your personality changes or whatever. It's these intangible things that I think we're very clear that Nico is just not as he's athletic. He got his 5 stars because he's tall and he's fast,
Mm-hmm.
but is he a good quarterback?
He's not.
It's just clear to me that he wasn't going to. Now, would he have maybe marginally improved? Maybe, right? In year two, maybe. But I think it is overwhelmingly clear that we would have had a sputtering offense once again, Austin.
I think so, man. I think so, and I'm honestly surprised to see that so many people think we would have been better this year with Nico under center. I don't think you watched enough UCLA, man. It was the same problems you brought up. You brought up intangibles, which is a great point. I mean, people bringing up how he didn't want to be a Vol and he was a bad leader. Those are all very true and things that we need to take into account when we're having this discussion. But another thing is the thing you brought up, which is how about getting through progressions? How about pressure to sack rate? Things of this nature, which
Yes, get
again,
into some stats.
this
Yes.
year he's a more developed player and one more year in college football as a starter. Those things did not get better. I think a lot of people who have these views probably didn't watch a lot of UCLA games. I did a lot for the show and partly because I hate watching Nico, by the way. I'm rooting for his failure. And it was very enjoyable for me to see him be bad. So I loved watching those games. And it was not better, Blake. It was not better. And again, keep in mind when you make these points that like, oh well, Nico would have got better. Again, Nico chose like he said. I mean, Heupel really kicked him off the team. It really wasn't his choice, but he said him and his family said they left because of the Heupel offense, the receivers, the offensive line, all of these things. Those things were in place last year. Those same things were in place last year. And the offense was way worse. I mean, dude, he would have had to take a massive jump to get to where Aguilar took the offense this year. Can we just be honest with that? Like, y'all do realize we hadn't put up 20 against Georgia in like Heupel's entire tenure before this year, right? Like that, like the massive jump that Aguilar took with this offense, like it just wasn't remotely close to where Nico was. So Nico would have had to take. And again, we saw Nico play this year. It wasn't with us. It wasn't with Heupel's system, but we saw him play this year, and he was just atrocious. I mean, he was just not good. And again, I'll have some stats I'll give at some point, but I don't know. I feel like that's a big leap for me to say, oh, well, just because it would have been year two of Heupel's system, all of a sudden our offense would have been like better this year. I just don't see that at all, man. I don't think we have any evidence of that.
Yeah, because ultimately the things that Nico didn't do well, again, I don't think would have improved the offense as a whole. Would Nico have improved as a player? Potentially, marginally, right? Like, again, it's certainly possible, and it makes sense with consistency and all of that. Hendon progressed, all of that good stuff. But the question is, would our offense have improved in general with Nico in year two? And I just don't think he had the makeup to improve our offense, especially with
No.
Josh Heupel's system, which is a little bit of an indictment on Josh Heupel. You got to be able to recruit players who are going to be able to execute your system. But I digress. And ultimately, the point is, I think it's very clear. The numbers are there that the offense was vastly better this year than it was
Vastly.
last year. And Aguilar certainly elevated it more than even year 2 Nico would have elevated it.
And I agree with that. And Dylan's ultimate point is that Nico has a higher ceiling because of the tangible things, the athleticism, the size, the arm strength, and all of that's true, man. But there's so much more that goes into playing quarterback, and we see teams uh, kind of lose big by betting on guys like that have the arm strength, they have the athleticism. See DJ Lagway. Okay, DJ Lagway, it's not the Heupel system, and I know it's Billy Napier, but year 2 of DJ Lagway, second year in the Florida system, a guy who was a 5-star, who had as many tangibles as Nico has, right? I mean, he is as big, as strong, has the arm. He's not as fast, he's not as good as a runner, but he is a big, strong athlete, Blake. He got significantly worse this year, and it's not apples to apples, but the thing is, Dakota makes this point all the time. I shout him out. He's watching NFL Sunday right now. He's not listening to Vol Talk, but I'll shout out Dakota. He makes this point all the time. A lot of people make the mistake that young players always have this linear progression that goes up and up and up. That is not the case. That is not the case a lot of the time. It even happened with Lenore Sellers this year at South Carolina, like another example of a quarterback who's very much like Nico, who, by the way, I think is actually a better athlete than Nico, a better runner, and is more strong, has a better arm. But he didn't get better this year. It doesn't always work that way. They don't always, those big 5-star athletes, they don't always get better because there's so much more, to Blake's point, to playing quarterback.
Yeah, it's a position more than any other that requires those intangibles, and unfortunately, I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but last year, Austin, I started even off camera, started rumbling. I was the biggest supporter of Nico, and then I started questioning. I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know if he is making enough quick decisions, and I don't know about his body language. He's got his head down, walking down on the Vol walk.
Yeah.
So it's intangible stuff for sure. But Austin, I'd love to hear from you on some cold hard numbers. So and you've got some nuanced stuff as well. Walk us through some numbers.
Yeah, I'm going to try to be as nuanced as possible with it. Maybe even compare Joey's year to Nico on Tennessee last year, because I think that's same system, mostly the same players. But yeah, just this is some PFF numbers. I like PFF. Some people don't. I do. I believe in their grades. They grade basically every player from every game, Blake, on an individual basis, and they try to isolate an individual player's play in a very team sport, which is tough sometimes. I know that's tough. But I think their quarterback numbers in particular are really good. So passing grade, that's just, basically grading each pass. Joey had a 90.7. That ranks 4th in college football, Blake. 90.7. And again, Joey wasn't perfect this year, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a PFF passing grade. Nico's passing grade this year with UCLA, Blake, 66.1. That ranks 79th in college football. So, I mean, we're not even talking about in the same world here. Joey's offensive
even if
grade,
PFF is marginally off,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
it can't be that off.
And again, we always have people in our chat reminding us how the SEC schedule is tougher than the Big Ten schedule. So add that context as well. It's a tougher schedule. So there you go. Joey's offensive grade. So this takes into account Nico's running ability, Blake. This takes all that into account. This is offensive grade as a whole is a 90.4 for Joey Aguilar. That ranks 6th in college football. For Nico, it's 73.9, ranked 62nd. Not much better. That includes the rushing. That's taking that into account. Big time throws for some of our newer listeners, which we might have some are we have higher view count today. So big time throws are basically just the best throws in football. A lot of them are deep downfield. A lot of them are in tight windows. It's just the toughest throws in football. Joey Aguilar had 20 to Nico's 8 on the season. turnover worthy plays. That's simple. It's any play that PFF determines is the quarterback's fault that should have been a turnover, not just plays that result in turnovers, which actually helps the quarterback a lot because remember, like early in the year when Aguilar was throwing all these picks, right? And like, oh, he's still, a turnover machine. If you watch the games and if you add the context, which PFF does, it was our receivers literally dropping passes and deflecting into defenders' hands. It was some of the most unlucky turnover luck at the beginning of the year for Aguilar, and that was reflected in his turnover worthy play numbers. And Nico's always done a better job at not turning the ball over because he's always taking sacks. But Aguilar still with more attempts, everything was still had less turnover worthy plays. He has 8 to Nico's 9. So if you kind of look at turnover worthy plays and big time throws as like a TD to interception ratio, Blake, which I kind of like to do. Aguilar's 20 to 8 versus Nico's 8 to 9. I mean, it's just, again, the numbers aren't close. It's again, like, even if you think Nico would have gotten 50% better, which, like, again, it's not always a guarantee. It's likely it's not going to happen. He still wouldn't have matched Aguilar this year, Blake. Another number I love, Blake, and this speaks to the point you've always made, which is such an astute point, which is pressure to sack. This is a number that I encourage people to look into because pressure to sack percentage is basically the percentage of pressures that the quarterback pressure, and y'all should know what that is. Basically, anytime a defender's close to the quarterback on a drop back, and the amount of times that results in a sack. Okay, so the percentage of those pressures that result in a sack, this is what I feel like Nico's really struggled at, holding on to the ball, not making decisions.
Yeah.
Joey's this year was 13.6, which, by the way, was even higher to start the year. He was actually on an elite pace to begin the year with that number, Blake, but it fell off towards the end, unfortunately. Nico's was 18.3. So, again, another stat where Joey is better. Another one. It really just goes on and on. And then the last thing I'll bring up as far as advanced stuff goes, Blake, which you loved this. I told you this before the show started. Drop percentage. This is the amount of passes that were dropped by the receivers. Okay. And I agree. I think Joey Aguilar had better talent. Obviously, Tennessee has more talent than UCLA. However, if we're talking about drop percentage, like who has the higher drop percentage, that means how many times did your receivers drop it? How many times did your receivers let you down? Joey's is almost double what Nico's is. 9.8% of Joey's passes were dropped this year from PFF, according to PFF. And Nico is at 5.4. So Joey actually had more drops on the season from his wide receivers, Blake, than Nico did.
And that, again, proof's in the pudding right there. Yes, we had more talent, vastly more talent, but we weren't going through a coaching debacle like UCLA was. All of this, which all of that speaks, Austin, to the just absolute BS that was Nico and his dad's excuses about why they were leaving. Right? Oh, it's a better situation. It's more money. Okay, well, you ended up with less money. You ended up with a worse situation. So obviously it was actually that you were trying to get more money. You got told no, and then you tried to play hardball and you got struck out. And so, but I digress, right? Yeah. I mean, it's like Joey had his receivers letting him down, unfortunately. And a few that were one touchdown and pass in particular, Austin, some things were taken away by BS penalties.
Yep.
And so, man, it's just the numbers are there. The eye test is there. I mean, what else is there?
Blake, and I can point to 2 big passes that I know fans, these are 2 losses, right? One of the things we would have been really taking victory laps if we made the playoffs this year, by the way, like some serious victory laps. But 2 big passes that were dropped this year from Aguilar that maybe cost us games that Aguilar put on the money. Okay. The 4th and 1 against Oklahoma, Blake, where the 4th string tight end dropped the pass, and I said he should never play here again. I've probably come off that a little bit. Okay, I think he deserves another chance, but that was a huge one that could have led to the comeback against Oklahoma. And then Mike Matthews, and again, another guy that I love. Mike Matthews has a super bright future, but we've talked about he had some critical drops this year. No, no
Yeah.
way around it. In the Vanderbilt game, Blake, that drop he had in the comeback attempt, it hurt us in a bad way. And I'm not saying we would have went on to win the Vanderbilt game. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is didn't help us. Didn't help us. It didn't help us
Yeah.
at all. And so, yeah, man. And those are just two passes in particular that, again, maybe we're big reasons that we're 8-4, that we have 2 more losses on the schedule. So, yeah, I think our opinions have been this all year. We've seen it all year. That I think without question, Joey was better this year. I don't think there's any doubt in that. But also I think Joey would have been better this year with rather than Nico. I do.
Yeah, I do too. It's it's just I don't think there's any way to argue otherwise. Again, we can have a nuanced argument about. Well, we can have any argument. If anyone wants to disagree,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
But I do appreciate the nuanced argument that Dylan brought, which is okay. Oh, yeah, Joey's certainly upgraded us, but would Nico have at least improved in year 2? We can have all those nuanced conversations, but I'm gonna say it till I'm blue in the face, brother. That you can't argue the numbers, and the proof's
Yep.
right there in front of you. Joey wasn't an upgrade; he was an improvement. So thank God we got Joey. As good old Rocky Top said in the chat, come back, Joey. Joey is potentially suing for another year of eligibility. That would be
We'll
a
see.
nice bridge. The nice bridge to Faison Brandon, letting Faison Brandon develop. So
I like that idea, and honestly, just quick shout out, another plug for next week's show. All right, this time next week we're gonna have our big season review, going over the entire season this year and getting to the nitty gritty details of the players, the position groups, giving out the Vol Talk awards. But we'll also be talking about potential quarterback answers for 2026, like who's going to be under center, whether it's going to be Joey, and if he wins that lawsuit. Keep in mind, though, good old Rocky Top, if Joey wins that lawsuit, we all have to realize that also means another year of Diego Pavia. And I think that's just bad for college football. I don't think any of us want to see more Diego Pavia. I want to see a lot less Diego Pavia personally. But
please,
yeah,
God, less.
That's all something we'll discuss though. Like who we think is going to be under center next year, who's going to be give us the best chance to win next year. Yeah, I think that'll be a fun discussion next Sunday.
Yes, going to be a very fun discussion. So be sure, if you haven't already, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and tune in next week. We'll have special guest Dakota on, and we will discuss all kinds of things about the 2025 season in review and a way too early look ahead at 2026 for the volunteer football team, Austin. Got some funny chat going on here. Look, Hill Vol fan and good old Rocky Top, they're going on about some jock straps and being itchy. I'm not going to get into all that.
They're having fun in the chat. I love it.
Y'all are crazy. But yes, please jump in the chat and let us know what you think about Aguilar versus Nico. And again, if you're watching after the fact, let us know in the comments. But Austin, we're talking a lot about volunteer football, but someone shouted out the Lady Vols. The Lady Vols are currently up on No Name Winthrop Eagles, 27-9. Lady Vols, we're hoping that they have a good season. Yeah, hoping they have a good season this season. We're hoping for high things out of Kim Caldwell, especially in year 2, a lot of progression. So they've dropped a couple early, but we'll see, what happens as they continue to gel as a team. And speaking of that, Austin, the men's basketball. So Tennessee men's basketball has one last big test before we start SEC play. Talk us through it.
Yeah, play Louisville on Tuesday. Louisville's been really good. They've already beaten Kentucky this year. It's going to be a huge matchup. It's in Thompson Bowling. I think we all would love to see us take this game before SEC play starts because, man, ever since that Houston game, we've been sputtering. It's not been good. Losing the Kansas game after the Houston game with that tournament, how it's set up, how it's back-to-back games, I could that's fine, whatever. But then you go on to lose to Syracuse and Illinois, and especially the fashion in which we lost to Syracuse was really bad with the turnovers. So I want to see them bounce back against Louisville, and it would be one huge win before SEC play. So let's hope they can get it done.
The devil's got you in the lungs, brother. Got a little hiccup attack going on here. Need your wife to open the door, scare you a little bit, scare them hiccups right out of you. Yes, yeah. So we would love to, like you said, we'd love to see the men's basketball bounce back. I was expecting and hoping big things from them this season. Still am. I mean, it's still early on in the season, and we got SEC play coming up. So, folks, be mindful of that as well. We'll do our season review for the football team, and then, of course, we'll cover the bowl game begrudgingly. But we're doing the season. We're doing the season
Music
review.
City Bowl.
Yeah, the season's over, so we're gonna do the season review. We'll cover the bowl game, and then we are going to continue to always cover volunteer football in the off season. We're going to keep a pulse on Legend Bay. We're going to keep a pulse on Savion Hyder and what happens there. We're going to keep a pulse on, recruiting, transfer portal, players declaring for the draft or leaving, the team, especially with Jim Knowles coming in, how that's going to affect personnel. We're going to keep a pulse on all of this, and we want to continue that conversation with you guys. So be sure to follow us if you're on Spotify, subscribe if you're on YouTube, because we want to keep you up to date on volunteer football. But, Austin, we will be making the transition, especially once we hit SEC play with the basketball team. We'll be making the transition to the basketball Vols. And then, of course, I'm wearing my Vols baseball jersey.
I'm wearing national championships, man. I'm trying to live in the good old days.
That's right. Hey, I'm wearing my national championship baseball shirt in honor of the Tennessee rugby team, basically. National championship.
Even though you didn't know about that before the show. Hey,
yeah, dude.
Happy coincidence.
No, bro, no, heck no, dude. I love rugby.
Okay,
I love rugby.
Hey, I just hope that I hope Danny White doesn't turn that around on us. I think we want the football team to do a little better. And I like rugby too. I root for all Tennessee sports, but I'm gonna need that talent feed to go to the defensive line.
Hey man, maybe we someone mentioned in the chat early on, maybe we need to bring in some of these rugby players, baby. I don't know. But for your information,
worse
Austin,
this Tim Banks defense this past season.
It sure couldn't have. But shout out to Tennessee Rugby, beat Bowling Green in the national championship 21-15. For those of you who don't know rugby, it's pretty similar to football scoring. So if that gives you any context. But Austin, I'm looking forward to basketball.
Show's
season,
going off
brother.
the rails here.
It's going off the rails. Hey, we're in the twilight hours. We've already dropped down in viewership. Everyone knows we're kind of winding down. It's only the true Vol Talk fans who are still here in the chat.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. They might have just had to get off, man. They might have just got off. They'll be back later.
No, you're right. That's true. But I will say this: the show's not only gone off the rails, the chat's been going off the rails as well.
Chat's going crazy, dude.
Hill Vol fan and good old Rocky Top. I'm loving loving y'all's jokes here. But yeah, and good old Rocky Top, we recognize, he says I like basketball, but football and baseball is where I get down. Yeah. For sure. But
that's kind of us.
Love all Vol sports. It is us. Yeah, but and good old Rocky Top says my Nana would run through the Tim Banks defense.
Yeah, she'd average 6 yards a carry on that defense, man. At least.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good stopping point, brother. So bringing it full circle to what we started with, which was Jim Knowles getting hired to replace Tim Banks. Love that hire. We've talked about Legend Bay and that situation. Let's not have another Boo Carter. We've talked about the Michigan situation. We've talked about Alabama and the playoff committee and that.
It's a jam-packed show, man. I told you, get ready for a 2-hour one.
We talked about the trade, Aguilar-Nico. It was a jam-packed show, but it's been fun, folks. It's been really fun. So we appreciate you guys joining us, especially if you've been here the whole time for nearly 2 hours.
Shout out.
Fantastic. Really appreciate you guys. It's been a lot of fun. We love doing this with you guys. We love chatting with you guys. It's seriously, it's something that gives us, it's a hobby of ours. We don't get we don't earn any money from this, brother.
But it's fun.
We
We love it.
in fact, we've put a little bit of money into it, and we ain't seen nothing, nothing come out of it. Well, nothing in terms of money. We get a lot of joy out of it. So, so we really appreciate you guys joining us. We appreciate everyone in the chat. Hillball fan, good old Rocky Top, Rhonda, Lynn, Dylan, everyone, Matt, Daniel. I can't even shout out everyone.
A lot of
Just
OGs today, baby. A lot of
a
OGs.
lot of
Lamones.
OGs.
Lot of
Lamone
OGs.
in the chat. Yeah. So really appreciate you guys. Again, go ahead and like the video if you haven't already. Go ahead and drop a comment if you're watching after the fact. Let us know what you think about any of this. And then, folks, please mark your calendars. Next week, Sunday, we will be having our live season review.
It's gonna be a big
Austin, any final words, brother?
No, final word is I hope y'all come to that Sunday show. If you're feeling froggy, tell a friend about it. It's going to be a fun one. I'm sure we'll have some interaction, some chat interaction. We love those big shows. I mean, next Sunday, if this show's on, this is a 2-hour show. Shoot, we might be looking at 3 next Sunday. Who knows? It might go off the rails a little bit. But we'll be talking everything this 2025 season. And yeah, so should be fun.
Exactly. Hey, this channel is called Vol Talk, baby. That's what we do. We yap about the Vols. We talk all things volunteer sports, but next Sunday it'll be all about reviewing that 2025 season. So join us for that, folks. It's been a lot of fun. We really appreciate you guys joining us. Chat's still going off here. I love it. Keep going in the chat. We really appreciate you guys. But again, folks, we will see you next week. We'll be dropping clips throughout the week, but our next live show will be next Sunday. So we will see you then. Until then, as always, go freaking Vols, baby.
GBO.